I don't know what it is about those early Super Nintendo games, but they just have this simple charm and optimism about them that's completely devoid of pretense or desire to be anything but fun. You know, before the play it loud era, when they were still figuring out how to develop for the system, so graphics were kinda boxy and the music pulled from the same audio banks, and they really liked showing off Mode 7. But there was just something unique about them, almost like they were 8-bit games, but like 16-bit. I don't know how else to explain it. Well, ActRaiser fits snugly in that category of game, having been released in 1990 and displaying the innocent charm of the era. Oh, sorry, just got a real nostalgia rush right there. It was developed by Quintet and published by Enix, and it actually breaks the mold somewhat by being something of an action platformer mixed with a city building sim. A lot of you probably played it, meaning it's got good nostalgia currency, so let's review it and see if this neat little chimera of a game holds up. The whole concept of this game is pretty cool. You actually play as God, referred to as the Master in North America, thanks to Nintendo of America's sensitivity to any religious subject matter. The game starts as you awaken from a long slumber in your Sky Palace after getting your ass kicked by Tanzra hundreds of years prior. Tanzra, by the way, is called Satan in the Japanese version, just so you really know who we're dealing with. Well, hundreds of years of Satan didn't exactly do any good, and civilization all but whittled away to nothing under the control of Tanzra and his 6 lieutenants. The world was divided into 6 lands and filled with monsters. As the master, you gotta put a pot of coffee on and get down there to fight those monsters and rebuild civilization. And I gotta say, it's a pretty clever concept, and I don't think it had been done before in a Nintendo system. And I'm not too mad at the censorship, because I feel like if they did use God and Satan, it would have been more tethered to the theology of it all, which in turn would have hampered creativity. And with all this imagery, if you still need it spelled out like that explicitly, then I don't know what to tell you, man. As mentioned, the world has been divided into 6 regions, each of which you will need to rid of monsters and fill up with people. As you level up, you get more freedom to tackle these in any order, which is cool, but at the beginning you gotta start in Fillmore. Now, before you go thinking that you're gonna be quenching these lands with omnipotent judgment and hellfire, just know that the ass whipping you took hundreds of years ago left you quite weak. It seems the only way to battle these monsters is face to face, so the first order of business in each land is to beam down there and inhabit the statue of a sword-wielding hero. Yes, this unusually upright gentleman is actually just an avatar you use to move through each level, which is done in this classic side-scrolling manner. The first level for every land is Act 1, and it'll have you jumping, swinging your sword, dodging, and swearing. The action sections all have your usual action platformer tropes here, including moving platforms, spiked pits, birds that swoop down, as well as some unusual action platformer tropes, like this walking tree that looks like Mama Fratelli, or a bespeedoed minotaur. You have your HP listed at the top, as well as a magic meter for your acquired spells. There are only 4 spells, and they're not much to write home about other than the fact that some of them, like the Stardust spell, could be a tad overpowered. You can pick up items to replenish things and all that. Really, the action sections are as normal as they can possibly be, which isn't incredible, but hang with me here. After defeating the boss of Act 1, the game almost jarringly switches gears, and you're presented with an overhead view of the land you chose, along with its first 2 inhabitants being lightning bolted into existence in front of a temple. What an entrance! You then take control of a naked cherub, who, you may recall, is your servant from the Sky Palace, and serves as a second avatar for the second facet of the game, which is the city building. Now, don't get too excited, because this ain't even close to something like SimCity. Your job for the next little bit is to essentially clear the land of debris by using any number of miracles available to you, and then to plot paths for your people to build along. Every time this hourglass turns over, your people will scamper out of the temple and build new houses and fields along the path. This, as you may have guessed, is how you make your population go up, and it is quite satisfying. While you do this, there will be monsters to antagonize you and your devotees. Each land has up to 4 monster layers, which serve as spawn points for the 4 types of beasties, and each beastie has a different way of causing trouble. Napper bats, for instance, will pull people out of houses, barrel a monkey style, and fly off with them, while blue dragons will destroy your houses one at a time. Red devils will destroy crops, while these absolutely terrible skullheads will cause earthquakes that level all your weaker structures. You can take these monsters out by using your arrows or a bomb item, but they come back so quickly you're just really managing them instead of killing them. Eventually, if you build over top their layers, you can destroy them outright, which unlocks progression and more opportunities to grow. Your people will speak to you regularly via prayer to give you the 411, or offer items and spells which can help you in battle mode or sim mode. Build up your population enough and you start gaining levels. Build it up even more and something will happen in the narrative to unlock Act 2, which is another side-scrolling action stage, the boss of which is one of Tanzra's 6 lieutenants. Once you beat this, you're back to the city view where your happy little zealots are singing your praises and you can confidently move on to the next land. Each of the lands are unique in some way, save for boring old Fillmore. Bloodpool has swamps and a massive blood pool. Cassandora is a huge desert. Itos has a volcano. Marana is a tropical island. And Northwall is full of snow and those goddamn skulls. Ah! Each land also has some narrative to accompany it, and you'll be surprised how philosophical, poignant, and devastating some of these narratives can be. Bloodpool has a curious little boy named Teddy who goes missing. You find the little scamp by some caves, but when he gets back, the whole town does a lottery to choose someone to sacrifice, and guess who the hell they pick? Goddamn Teddy! Or in Marana, some charlatan in a temple starts peddling some cult nonsense, pulling all your followers away and leaving your temple empty. Yeah, some real shit that'll have you saying, "Don't make me come down there," before you actually do go down there to sort things out. There's also some neat inter-town interaction, like how you'll need sheep fleece from Itos to warm up the people of Northwall. Despite the story really only playing out either in text or from extremely far away, it could be quite effective. Look at this and tell me you don't feel for all these little people suffering from the plague. And it's funny how each time your followers have something to tell you, it gives you this, "I know this is unexpected" dialogue box, which couldn't be more inaccurate. Like, I just cleansed the Bloodwater and Bloodpool. You're damn right a little reverence is expected. One thing I want to bring up is the final level of the game, which you play once you've built up all 6 lands. You get access to Deathheim, which is where Tanzra lives, but rather than a proper level, it's just a boss gauntlet, which is a trope I have always friggin' loathed. Don't make me fight every boss again before making me fight the final boss. At least let me save and put the final boss gauntlet behind me so I don't need to do it every time the final boss kicks my ass, which is often. Look at this. I'm going into the final boss battle with a pittance of a life bar. Can we please make this a fair fight? Anyways, the design score is going to get a big boost because of the successful mixing of the 2 genres. Even if they both are quite standard in their execution, I really did love having that little buffer of city building in between each high-pressure action section. It almost makes you feel like you're playing an RPG, or any game whose combat is broken up by slower moments of building and nurturing, even though you're not. ActRaiser is not a big game, but this little leapfrogging of genres makes it feel like one. Well, you'll be happy to know they did not spoil this design with crappy gameplay. Funny thing, but this is actually the first game developed by Quintet, and you wouldn't think that to be the case due to how surprisingly well it plays. I realize I'll need to speak to the 2 different sections of the game individually, so I'll start with the action sections. For the most part, these control well, mostly due to how simple it is. I mean, your only buttons are jump, attack, and use magic, so there's not a lot to mess up to begin with. Your attacks are sweeping enough to take out enemies around you and sometimes even behind you, so you're never really going to feel that "my weapon is useless" frustration that you get in games like Lagoon. Magic is overpowered, like I mentioned, but I will happily take that over crap, useless magic. But there are a few things I don't like. For example, knockback is present, and it's just as unwelcome here as it is in any other game, and you will get moments like this. Ugh! Also, there is this weirdness about jumping and attacking where you just won't be able to swing your sword at certain times during your jump. It's like this dead zone that, while never catastrophic, will be frustrating and frequent. Like here, you could be damn sure I pressed the attack button, but the guy did nothing. If I had to quantify it, I would say that the controls of this game are about 5% off. There's just a wee bit of offness that I can't really describe, but you'll know it when you play it. Chalk that up to it being an early SNES title, I suppose. I also don't like how, for some bosses, just whacking away and not even trying to avoid the attacks is a viable strategy. The second time you fight this Minotaur, he's so fast and his attack is so hard to avoid that you're just better off staying put and whacking away. I would have liked the game to reward skill just a little bit more. But I will say that the action levels do not overstay their welcome and are the perfect length, giving us enough challenge without being repetitive. For the city building sections, it doesn't need to be as well honed, so I won't have as many complaints. Your little angel controls well enough, although I would have preferred it if you could move diagonally a bit better. Sometimes your shots need to be perfect, especially when taking out this bat from the side. Also, as satisfying as it is to see your town get built up every time the hourglass gets turned over, you do eventually reach a point where it just stops with no explanation. The hourglass will turn over and you'll get that little half-second pause, but no one will pop out to build the town up. It can be really unsatisfying, especially if you have any recently leveled buildings that need to be replaced. After looking into this, I did discover that there is a hidden layer of the game that has to do with maximizing the population of each town, and a lot gets factored into what you wouldn't think. For example, the points you earn in each action stage actually add to the total number of people you could add to the population in the city building section, to the tune of 1 person for every 50 points earned. Yeah, in this game the points actually do accomplish something, so it behooves you to just whack away at enemies, I guess. There are also other strategies like using lightning or causing earthquakes to tear down the old structures, since newer ones add more to the population. Feels a bit evil, but here we go! Sorry guys! Even things like bridges somehow hinder your ability to add more people. I don't know. There's a massive guide floating around on the internet you can reference, but I would have preferred it if maximizing your population was a bit more of a transparent process, because it's quite unsatisfying to hit that wall. But quibbles aside, we have good gameplay, so we can wrap that up and move on to graphics. If you're around my age, you probably saw pics of this game in Nintendo Power when they were teasing games for the soon-to-be-released SNES and thought, holy shit! Yes, big, beautiful, colorful sprites that have actually held up well over time. It almost feels like a waste that really nice-looking enemies like this tree man only appear once in the whole game. But the enemies look good, even if some of them are a bit unconventional. You want big bosses? You got them! This game definitely understands that bosses are meant to be both a challenge and a spectacle. So we get this big pharaoh head, the swampy plant monster, the giant arctic wyvern. I also noticed how these bosses sort of kind of seem to represent other religions. Not sure if it was intentional, but this boss is called Kalia and looks like a Hindu deity. And there's this freaky fire wheel here that kind of looks like the Dharma Chakra, which is prevalent in Buddhism, Hinduism, Jainism, pretty much any religion that isn't, this one. Maybe I'm looking too far into it. Unfortunately, your main dude is a bit generic. He doesn't seem to have a face and he runs a little too rigidly. I mean, he was a stone statue a minute ago, so I don't know what I'm expecting. Would have been nice if they made him a little more interesting is all. We get some great levels that really go the extra mile to feel unique and exciting. Bloodpool Act 1 looks amazing with its poisoned sea stretching out into the distance. And check out the Parallax Clouds in Aitos Act 1. Frig yeah! Don't you just feel like a mythical deity right here? There's so much diversity, from deserts to snowfields to swamps. Each level has its own flavor that ties in nicely with the overall land. Check out this massive tree in Northwall that you eventually find yourself running around inside. The worst a level could look is a bit bland, and none are full-on gorgeous, but for an early SNES title, they are easy on the eyeballs. The city building sections are unfortunately nothing to write home about as far as graphics are concerned. They do their job showing simplistic representations of entire villages, including individual people and animals, as well as these bubbles that display their sentiment. This part definitely has the most early SNES game vibe to it in my opinion, kinda blocky and with a very obvious tile set. Meh. And I have to mention the Mode 7 stuff. From moving your Sky Palace around the overworld map to these dramatic zoom-ins when you start an action section. Don't lie, there's a good chance you were impressed by this back in the day. These days, maybe not so much. Overall, better than average graphics with some high points and some middling points. I want to talk music. So, I generally like the music in this game. The song you're going to hear the most occurs during the city building sections, and it's actually a bullseye in my opinion. Coming down from the Sky Palace to mingle with the hoi polloi is accompanied by this simple medieval peasant flute ditty that really provides an excellent contrast to the ecclesiastic organ music of the heavens. And it never gets tedious or annoying despite looping quite frequently. The action sections are more hit and miss, with a high point being this song. This plays at the beginning of several levels and really pumps you up to go out and kick ass. Here, look. Oh baby, let's go! I also like how this particular song is timed to really ramp up as soon as you jump on the little floating bird chariot I showed you earlier. See, that's pretty neat. On the flip side, we have this little farty number for the caves and swamps that is a little more subdued, albeit unexceptional. I should point out that these 3 songs that I just showed you are actually used for 9 of the 12 action stages, which, frankly, is a little ridiculous. They went out of their way to make each level visually unique, so it's a shame the music was just recycled. Of the non-recycled songs, I want to point out Fillmore Act 1 for being really good, if not a little Castlevania sounding. And Northwall Act 2 for being really, really Star Wars sounding. And the end of the game for being really, well, you tell me. I'll bring up the sound effects because they're good and satisfying at a very base level. It's no wonder Quintet reused some of them for Soul Blazer and Illusion of Gaia. Hitting enemies gives you this deep, crunchy thud. You can almost feel each nugget of boss health being depleted. And destroying an enemy has this squelchy burst of a sound that also feels pretty good in the lizard brain. You like that? Check it out when you beat a boss. Ooh, yeah, right in the auditory cortex. Your avatar may not have a face, but he has a voice that makes this breathy, echoey grunt when he gets hit. And that's something, I guess. If I need to pick on something, it's the all-too-common trend of noisy, crawling text that's on full display here. I hate this. Your first order of business when starting up this game should be to adjust the message speed to instantaneous. But to sum up the audio, it's good even if it could be built out, diversified, and expanded upon a little bit more. Now, should you get your wallet out for ActRaiser? I'm gonna say yes. There actually isn't any other game like this on the Super Nintendo as far as I know. There's a lot that's good here and nothing that's outright bad, so you will have fun. That's great, Mr. Motron, but how much is this gonna cost me? $40 as of this moment, which isn't bad. Despite having a save feature, you can beat this game in one sitting, so it's not going to eat up more than a weekend. There is an extra challenge mode you can unlock upon beating the game, which may add value, so I'll let you ruminate on that. I'll also say you can't really find this game anywhere else right now. It was made available on the Wii Virtual Console, but hasn't really seen the light of day in its original form since. There was a crappy mobile phone version in 2003, which I'm only bringing up to show you how weird it was. And they did make a sequel, ActRaiser 2 for the Super Nintendo, but they made the huge mistake of taking out the city building entirely. Real dumb move. The city building is the beating heart of ActRaiser, and by excising it, they killed any hope of a franchise being established. And yes, I will mention ActRaiser Renaissance, which came out in 2021 for a bunch of platforms, although it really doesn't compare. For example, the city building section has been completely revamped to include tower defense mechanics, and really everything is so different. Plus, as a standalone game, it's not great, and likely only exists to build off of the nostalgia of the original ActRaiser, so just get the original ActRaiser if you're in any way curious about this game. So I didn't really gush over this game, but I certainly didn't rip it apart, so it should be no surprise that ActRaiser lands at a respectable 8.1 out of 10. While its various parts don't really impress in their own right, as a whole, it's a fun little amalgam of action and city building that is going to give you an enjoyable ride. Have fun.
The master rises in the sky, the world is not the same. He left his land in Satan's hands and saw what it became. The world calls out for a savior now. I know it's unexpected, but there's something you must hear. We don't have anything to offer up to you this year, but what we can provide